Good evening, everybody. We're here this evening for the April 8th, 2024 Lower Makefield Township Planning Commission meeting. My name is Anthony Bush. I'm appearing remotely. In person are members Tajender Gill and John DiLorenzo. Not appearing this evening, I believe, are Colin Coyle and Adrian Costello. First item on our agenda for this evening is our approval of minutes from the last meeting on March 11, 2024. Does someone want to make a motion?
I can make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or concerns about the minutes?
No.
Seeing none, call the question. All in favor of approval of the minutes from the March 11th, 2024 meeting?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. And that was approved 3-0. Really, the only other item on our agenda this evening is the Newtown Area Joint Comprehensive Plan, which we were provided a copy of. And I'm not sure who's going to lead that discussion, not being there in person, but
I can, Tony.
Okay, great. Terrific. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. So our office was sent the joint comprehensive plan for the Newtown joint area, which consists of Wrightstown, Newtown Township, and Upper Makefield. And the reason for this is because Section 302 of the PA Municipalities Planning Code requires that the proposed comprehensive plan be sent to contiguous municipalities and school districts for review. So that's why we're here tonight. If the Planning Commission would like to make any comments, they can provide them to tonight, and then I can forward them to the legal office that represents the township. So just a kind of a short synopsis of the plan. It's kind of broken down by starts well for the purpose, capturing the future, talks about some community goals related to planning compatibility, takes in some guidelines from the Bucks County Planning Commission, and then talks about the relationship between those two components. It's broken down by 9 guiding principles. Some of which are, smart growth, preserve open space, parks and rec, preserving their villages. And then it also kind of discusses specifically about Lower Makefield, the parts of these areas that border it. So it talks about how the zoning and land uses are generally compatible along both sides of the boundary near Lower Makefield. Talks about the potential of land in the vicinity of Dollington in Upper Makefield to ensure that development appropriate to the village with appropriate buffering and other treatments occurs on both sides of the municipal boundary. And that's kind of relevant with some subdivisions going along Newtown Yardley Road and just development in general. So they kind of talked about regulations for buffering. They discussed future planning and zoning for this area, which is generally compatible. They also talked about how the Bucks 2040 plan, which we looked at, has been considered and incorporated in the plan. It also talks about how Newtown Township borders the same two DEP watersheds that we have, the Neshaminy and the Delaware River South. And they also talked in Upper Makefield how they're having some wireless issues, which is relevant in parts of the township. Sorry. Yeah, and then I'll kind of open up to the Planning Commission if they have any comments or just general discussion they want to talk about.
Not particularly, but having been relatively new, are we part of this with any of our, are we participating in this type of not an agreement, but a plan?
No, so
Do we have any thoughts of doing it?
No, not that I'm aware of. So all the zoning is just specifically related to Lower Makefield. And then when we do a comprehensive plan, it would just be for this municipality. I think the reason they do it is just because they have a lot of different intensive types of land uses. Some parts are very agricultural, some parts are very industrial, some parts are more dense in terms of housing. So these three municipalities, since, they're kind of more spread out, kind of, our last comp plan was in 2019. So we will be rolling the ball to kind of start doing that soon. I think the guideline for the MPC is every 10 years. So at some point, we'll be doing something similar. And it'll be very, a lot of hands-on engagement and stuff like that.
TJ, do you have any thoughts about this plan?
I don't have any comments. No.
Only comments that I have are just that there's a fair amount of development that's either recently happened or will be happening near where Lower Makefield and Newtown border each other, and that we'd like to. I think it's important for Supervisor Lewis as well as Newtown to work together and make sure that traffic flows as well as possible, and that things aren't overdeveloped to the point where it becomes a problem to fix traffic. I don't really have too many other comments about their plan in particular, not specifically, more generalized comments, and just encourage both the Newtown area joint, I guess, the body that oversees the four towns, the jointure, as well as Lower Makefield, to continue to communicate with each other and keep all lines of dialogue open.
Great, thank you. We can definitely convey that to them. That's a very good point and very relevant too.
Dan, do you have any other thoughts about anything specifically about this that jumped out at you, or just the highlights that you pointed out to us?
Yeah, so I just kind of had four like general thoughts, and obviously these comments that we're giving aren't coming from me, but just kind of to steer conversation. I also noted on page 7 about kind of talking with the townships about the vicinity to Yardley Newtown Road with the subdivisions going in there. Also conferring with the township about the vicinity of Dolington that they messaged. So if there was any planning that they had in mind for Dolington Village. And then I also noted how on page 34, they're talking about traffic calming, and I was thinking maybe they could call out specific locations for traffic calming in their area to kind of further guide them in their plan, because the plan is a guiding document. But those were mainly my takeaways.
Was there anything specific about traffic calming that was that bordered Lower Makefield, or was it just a more generalized comment?
No, it was just a more generalized comment that that's something that they want to do more in the future. Nothing that was like directly abutting Lower Makefield.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any other thoughts about this?
If I could, Mr. Chair?
Sure, absolutely.
A couple of things. One, the jointure is kind of a unique municipal body in that it does help all the municipalities that are part of it kind of focus on specific land uses so that they don't have to have within their jurisdiction all the possible land uses. So that's definitely a benefit for them. I was really happy to see some discussion about stormwater management in there and increased focus on that. Obviously, Upper Makefield is dealt with the same issue we dealt with July 15th. Theirs was a little bit more tragic. The one area in terms of cooperation and coordination that I think is vital is parcels that are owned by one owner that exist in multiple municipalities. And that it would be a good idea for the township and the jointure or representatives from the jointure to talk about those specific properties and strategies around those in the long term. So that we don't get caught in a situation where a property owner looks to leverage one municipality over another or that sort of circumstance, and allows us to affirmatively plan out a future for those parcels. There aren't many of them, but they are out there and they are significant. And I also agree with the chair's discussion about traffic calming, specifically as it relates to the border of Newtown, Upper and Lower Makefield, both near the recent development, as well as the areas on Dolington, where there is increased traffic and moving. One element of that, though, is a number of these are state roads, which is helpful in getting investment for traffic calming or reduction efforts.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, John.
Any other comments by anyone else? Sounds like there are none. I think we will, I don't know, I guess this requires some sort of motion that we want to make a recommendation to the supervisors that we simply are stressing cooperation, that the jointure cooperate with Lower Makefield and communicate about the shared border, whether it's traffic calming or development. It's more of an a global statement than anything specific, I think. Does anyone want to make a motion, or is there anything else that we want to add about that?
That seemed good.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said, oh, it seemed good.
Okay.
That
All
seemed
right.
good.
Terrific.
Can I
Is
just
there a
make that
second?
motion?
Okay.
I'll
We have
make
a
that
motion.
motion. I'll make Tony's motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it approved 3-0. There is nothing else on our agenda this evening. Very quick, fast meeting, which is great.
Should we call for public comment, Tony? I believe
Oh,
there's someone.
I apologize about that. Before we jumped ahead, I kind of jumped the gun there. Is there any public comment on this?
Yes, we've someone here in the audience. If you'd like to come up, yeah,
I
come up to the
apologize.
microphone. Just state your name.
Hi, my name's Alex Davidoff,
Hi.
resident of Bridal Estates Drive.
Alex, I apologize for not recognizing you remote, and I didn't see that you were there, and I apologize about that.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. Thank you very much to all of you for taking my comment this evening. I have several questions for the committee about the Wright subdivision. I understand that the plans were just submitted to the committee. Has any members of the committee had a chance to review them at all?
We just received them, and we have not yet reviewed them. We will, these plans will go through the normal process and will be reviewed, and there'll be public meetings about them, but that is not, obviously, nothing's been scheduled yet.
I understand. Do you have any anticipation of when the public meetings will be scheduled?
Dan, do you have a good idea about that? Yeah.
No, so for context, I believe we got a full submittal on April 1st. I think the time expires for that. Let me check on our development status sheet. Okay, so on the development status sheet, time expires on July 7th, 2024. So I am assuming it would be either on the May or June Planning Commission. We meet monthly, so I'm not sure what day it would be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Will the residents of the Bridal Estates community be notified of this?
We'll it'll be on the agenda, so it'll be notified, and we'll do our due diligence in terms of advertising. I know it's a responsibility of the developer to notify them about the development to begin with. But we don't normally, single out a specific subdivision to let them know about a meeting, but we're always transparent about the meeting.
But it's fair to say, it's fair to say it'll either be on the May, which is a month from today, or the following month's.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are you aware of which members of Bridal Estates Drive, Colts Lane, Jockey's Way have been submitted the notice of land development application?
No, I don't.
Okay, because we received it from the township, several of us a couple of days ago, and not everybody in the community received it. And
Who do you work for? Just for context.
I work for a company called Alpha Point.
Can you say that again?
I work for a company called Alpha Point, but I am a resident of Bridal Estates.
Okay.
Or Makefield.
We can
So,
check with
wait, just so we're clear, you're here as a resident this evening. You're not.
That's
here as
correct.
a-
I'm not here
Yeah.
as an employee of any,
Right,
I'm here as a resident of Lower Makefield Township, asking questions about the right subdivision.
And that's what I thought. I just wanted to be clear about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, I know we received an email about everyone who was notified. It's the responsibility of the developer to do so. If you want to come in our office, we can discuss kind of everyone who was notified about the subdivision.
Thank you. What are your office hours? And just
We're open 8 to 4:30 from Monday through Friday.
excellent. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Other questions? And I take it that you have not taken any look at the traffic studies or the water studies related to the submission, correct?
The planning commission itself has not yet had an opportunity to review the township's consultants' reports. So we have not yet reviewed this as a body. The township has probably just now begun the process of reviewing what's been submitted. So we're not really in a position to substantively respond to what you're probably about to ask. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying it's just something that hasn't happened yet. Hopefully we will be there by the time this is scheduled at the next meeting. John, I see you wanted to chime in here.
Yeah, I was going to say all of the documents that were provided by the developer have been loaded on our website. So if you go to the Planning Commission portion of the LMT website, you can see, oh gosh, it's got a couple hundred megabytes worth of content across 20 files that will have the complete details of the submission for your review. And just so I personally haven't gone through it, and as Chairman Bush has noted, none of the Planning Commission folks have gone through it as well. So you have access to that, and I would urge you to certainly take a look at that. And if you find issues or concerns or things that don't meet the MPC and state law, be sure to bring that to our attention and review those accordingly.
I understand that, sir. I've actually downloaded all of the documents and
Oh, good.
I've reviewed
Okay,
them pretty
awesome.
extensively. I'm just trying to ask questions on what you may or may not be aware of this. I understand that you were just recently received the submission as well. I mean this to be information gathering and certainly not combative. And
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here just to kind of understand what you know and what you are able to share with us.
Well, at this point, we're not really in a position to share much with you beyond what's publicly available online in terms of what's been submitted. We will be prepared when this is scheduled at our next meeting or the meeting thereafter. And if you have any comments that not just whether something complies with law, but if you have any concerns or comments about the proposal, we'll obviously address those at that time.
I understand that. I'll save my comments for the appropriate venue once you've all been able to actually review the plans. A couple other questions, if you don't mind. Are you able to provide an update on the status of the Torbert Farm subdivision?
I'm going to defer at this point to John Lewis because this is the Planning Commission last had this before us either in July or August. And it was any decision on preliminary or final plan approval by the Planning Commission was postponed pending further discussion between the township and the developer. So at that point, that was the last word that the planning commission had on the issue at that time.
I can certainly speak to some of this. The last formal decision about that was the preliminary plan was discussed at the June 12th Planning Commission meeting. We do not have, as far as I understand it, a preliminary plan that's ready for review by the Board of Supervisors, so, or even the Planning Commission, that's still in work. So we don't have a formal submission. Dan, am I correct on that? I want you to check me if
Yes, I
Okay.
believe, it. Yeah.
So, and based on my understanding of things, it's likely that we will not be getting it before May 1st, and there will probably be a request to extend the deadline again. And I would expect that will come, and I don't know how long the developer or the developers council will ask for to extend. There are, I think I can safely say, there are some traffic issues that are still being reviewed with the developer as well as the structure of their plan. So that's part of the reason why I don't think we've received final plan from the developer.
So John, just to pick up with that point, when this was last before the planning commission, some of the issues that were before us that were discussed with the developer were potentially changing where Mirror Lake Road is, and there was also potentially preserving some portion of the site, and that was all subject to further discussion between the developer and the township. Is there anything that is at this point that you're capable of sharing with the community, or is that not something that's something you can talk about at this point?
I'm not sure that I can. I can say that where the developer was going was a plan that would be by right, meaning it would not require any zoning variances. So that the other question would be, just the general saldo process. So I don't know if I've got enough to say anything further on that, that I could be helpful with, unfortunately.
Are the traffic ordinances around the Torbert farm, do they permit direct access on the proposal, the planned subdivision? Do they permit direct access from Yardley Newtown Road, the Newtown bypass?
To which
The proposed subdevelopment in the Torbert farm subdevelopment planning.
So you're asking if
I'm asking if the planned subdevelopment, if they plan to allow access to it directly from the bypass or Yardley Newtown Road.
from Yardley Newtown Road, maybe, but that's part of whether it depends on. Let me check the map real quick on that. I apologize.
It would have a very small sliver of Yardley Newtown Road to be able to access.
Well, no, if you extended Mirror Lake Road, that would be your Yardley Newtown access point. To
Okay.
there. That's the question. So prior versions had discussions about extending Mirror Lake Road as the entry point into the parcel. There are some discussions as to whether that's going to be required or not. And then there's also some other traffic related issues that are being discussed with PennDOT, and I don't have the latest status of that. That's still in process. Dan might actually be better able to answer that question, so I have to be careful, and that's why you're there, Dan. Have I done anything that's improper yet?
No, I think you're fine.
Okay.
Okay. So we have the same concerns about the right subdivision that I'm raising about the Torbert subdivision, which is why I'm trying to understand the status of it. It sounds like it's neither approved nor denied, but also too that the traffic concerns have not been finalized there. Is that correct?
It'd be fair to say we haven't resolved that. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you very much for hearing my comments, all of you.
Thank you.
Then if you want to stop by the office, we can give you that info. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Can I make one last quick comment? One of the concerns that I had here is that the appropriate members of Bridal Estates Drive, Colts Lane, and Jockey's Way have not been informed. So just want to make sure that everybody has received the same letter and the same information about this proposed development.
Yeah, no problem. We can look into that. I'll give you my card too.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So at this point, someone want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
And the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
We're done.